Everyone, welcome to another episode of Crash Cinnamon. It's your host McKenna. Thank you for tuning in today. Today is pretty chilled. I was looking for another word, but anyway, that's what is in my head, so it will fly. And this week has been a very difficult week for me, in all manner of ways, physically, spiritually, emotionally, always, financially. It's been just it's been a stretch in all ways. So I've been actually reflecting on my mornings when I take my child to nursery. I have time to actually just reflect on different things, and so I was thinking of the content I was going to put out for the podcast and other things, and actually I was like, oh my god, for this week I'd forgotten to prepare for this podcast. It does happen, okay? It does happen. And though the notes for the show notes and everything was all done, but I had forgotten to pre-record it, because there was not much time for me to do it, so they can be out for this week. But hey, it's not happening, so you'll get this podcast next week, sadly. So sorry about that. Anyway, just to say, my mental health was challenged this week because of actually from last week. So that explains why you've not had an episode this week. So I'm really sorry about that. So this is what I wanted to talk about breaking camp. Yes, so that can sound very interesting, but anyway, I don't know how many of you have gone camping, and before you tell me, your relationship with nature is not, such that you will be sleeping outside in a tent or otherwise. For those who have, just flow with me. And I used to love camping when I was younger. And I used to go for various things. I used to be part of then it used to be called cadets for St. John's ambulance, and we used to go for different camps. And one of them, I came back hating my officers to the core. I will use that word because it was hate. And interestingly enough, the day before I went for this camp, we were burgled in our house, and I had a very up and close relationship. No, let's not use that word. But yeah, fear was present and all other things. But it's not the first time, but probably it's when I realized during such intense, weird, scary moments, I'll be freaked out for a while, but then I will kick into action mode. Like, so what do I do next? What do I need to do? There are how many people in this house? How can I help? What is the escape route? I literally went into that. Now, if for those who know me, for those who don't know me, I was not trained, like, I didn't grow up like in a military home or a home where you're trained about, in case of danger, this is what you should do, and blah blah blah. No. So I don't know where I picked up these skills, and I've always been this way, and it has helped me a lot because a lot has happened to me, including being kidnapped once, which I'll share. I think I've shared before, but I'll share more in detail in another episode. So I don't know. So I've always learned how to be strategically think of a way out. So what do I do? How many minutes? What time was it? Like, clock everything that is happening. And that's what happened on this day. We were burgled, and let's just say your girl knew how to take care of herself when those thugs came, and yes, I'm alive because of that, and I really thank God for the wisdom He gave me on what to do. So in that, I stashed my camp money and all other things that I needed for camp. And because had I not done that, I'd not have attended camp. And in a way, sometimes I think maybe I shouldn't have gone for camp. Maybe those thugs should have taken the money, because the experience was a ghetto. I mean, the experience of being there was fantastic. I mean, resilience, teamwork, all these things. And I was also chosen to be a team leader. Imagine, my mental health was in the dumps, and then somebody's teaching me, is asking me to be a team leader. And actually I did disclose to them that this has happened to me. I'm a bit traumatized, but still the officers decided I'd be the best to lead. Yeah. Anyway, this camping situation was complicated because we had lots of females. Officers are men, and some of the officers also are females. But when we are teenagers, fill in the blanks. I mean, good looking guys are here. Things won't work out. I mean, in terms of this one's trying to raid off the competition because they like this officer. This other girls want to try and impress this other officer. It was just chaotic in that sense. And on one day, it was our duty to actually take care of the food, make sure it's prepared, cleaned, everything sorted. And I had half a team because they had gone off on a midnight stroll with these guys. Let's just say I was not impressed, because it was such, I don't know, for those who used to go to such campings, they were very focused on targets. They didn't care about how you got there as long as you got there, because if you're not, there's a penalization of some kind. And I was not about punishment. Never have I been. And after going through what I'd gone through the previous night, I was just like, oh God, there will not be food. Then we'll probably be called the next morning to run at 5 a.m. and do whatever else that needed to be done. It was almost like a military camp. Honestly, it was crazy. So needless to say, when the officers came, I never used to use diplomacy. I've learned it. It's something I've learned, and that's why probably I love diplomacy so much. I just said, honestly, the officers came and complained. They're like, oh, team leader, how come the food is not ready and all these things? And I said, well, I just told them, if you'd not gone off with the girls, basically I laid it in for them. Needless to say, they were not happy to be challenged, first of all, and secondly, they made me climb a tree at night. And I'm not saying those kind of trees which are easy to climb. It was the thinnest tree ever. So, so I will forgive them in the year 2045. Anyway, needless to say, I wasn't really happy, and now I was forced to do a lot of work by myself. But it made me realize I actually do have a lot of skills under my belt, and I can pull through. And I actually realized through that adversity and through the trauma, I can push through. But after that, I went back to school, and I was a bit of a mess, and I had to speak to our school nurse who acted. We had a school counselor, but she was crap. Anyway, to get some medication because I was just having stomach aches and this, and I didn't know that was anxiety and all this. Now that I've learned about mental health and I'm a mental health first aider, I'm learning so much about how our bodies react when you go through trauma. Anyway, so when we were breaking camp, I literally, it was an eye-opener at that time, because obviously how the hooks went into the ground, the ropes, everything, how the tents were pitched, and the direction of the tent, the location. I now was able to take that all in. especially because it was very bright. It was during the day, and it made me think, okay, breaking camp is amazing. It's fun, and it means, okay, now we finished this. It's time to move on and make sure you have all the equipments you have and all these things. But it also made me think one thing. In breaking camp, it can create a lot of emotions, especially when you're reflecting, how was the camp? Do I have everything? And all this. And sometimes it's not easy, especially for those who've watched like wartime movies and everything, where soldiers had to break camp quickly because the enemy had targeted them or was coming, or they had to go rescue another platoon or whatever. It wasn't a really fun thing, and the other times you could see they were excited because it meant they were going home. So it made me think of life now. Sometimes we make camps over a different situation. Maybe you're going through in this relationship and you're happy and everything is happening, but you have to break camp in the sense of, okay, maybe that relationship didn't work out and you've been in that situation, in that funk for a while, and it's time to break camp and say, okay, that didn't work out, it's time to move on, let's go. And it's not easy. It's really not easy, because once you've internalized the surroundings, you know what it is, you know where, you've figured out everything whilst you are at camp. Now that you're being asked to break camp, and probably you're being asked to go camping some other site, or you're going to rescue somebody, in that sense, it's metaphorical, please. I hope you're understanding, you're following my chain of thought up to now. It's not easy. I mean, you're being asked to forgive somebody who has hurt you in a million ways. You're being asked to forfeit a promotion which was supposed to come to you, and you were entitled to it, you deserved it, but you have to forfeit it because the company probably is not doing well financially, or some politics has come about, and you have to gracefully accept, bite your tongue and all these kind of things, or something has happened. And I was actually thinking how easy it is. We tell each other, okay, yeah, now it's time to move on. Probably you've lost a loved one, and you're saying, okay, life has to move on and all this. But how do you break camp? How do you say, okay, now my life does not have this person anymore? For example, if you lived together, how do you go back to that house? How do you sleep in the same bed? How do you go to the same spots you used to like? How do you move on? And to be honest, I don't have the answers. I'm also searching. I'm also in this journey with you. All I know is that you will find a way. You will find a way, because the time comes and you can't deny it anymore. And you're like, okay, it's time to move on. It's time to move to the next thing. Maybe you started a business and it folded, and you're like, okay, it's time to move to your next business idea, and you can be very jaded up from like previous experience, and you're like, all these kind of emotions. So it might be not the easiest of things to do. Who wants to break camp when your ideas were a disaster in that sense, and you feel like they were a disaster, or this didn't work out? You might feel like a failure. But I feel my own perspective about this, now that I think about it, is you went through the experience. You were alive to go through the experience. Yes, it can sound so cliche, but honestly, had I not gone to that camp when I was a teenager, I would not have known so many things about myself, my resilience levels, a lot of things that I came to like came from that camp. And Yes, some parts of it were difficult, but it was good. And there's some of the skills I still tap into even now, years on. So it's time to break camp. I will say that gently, but also meaningfully. It's time to break camp in whatever situation of your life now you're in. It's time to move on. It's time to go to the next thing. And you have all the skills, you have all the tools, you have all the things that you need to move on to the next one, to the next phase of your life. I'm pausing because it's a message to me as well. There are things I need to address and literally break camp, and that's why this is a very personal episode for me as well. So let us do this together. Not a life coach or anything like that, but I just thought, let's be real. In 2022, I've said it's the time for us to really live life, so that dash between the time you're born and the time you die makes all the difference in the world. Yeah, your carbon footprint, for lack of a better word, is gonna be so huge in terms of how you lived your life. Yeah. So, are you ready to break camp? Yeah, you are ready. Just do it. Thank you for listening to this episode of Car Cinema.